is the majority of the small founders doomed because they don't have the time and they don't have the skill set to take this step, and they are so interlinked with family relationship and stuff, and they're doing the same thing from the 70s. Are they doomed?
And that's why, Stefan, it's definitely a leadership topic to invest in diversity, to invest in strategy, and to invest in the future. It's definitely a management and a leadership task here.
And the investment here is not a machine. It is a person or two.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Goldcasting podcast. And today we have a topic where we talk about equality, and it is more and more important as the foundry industry is facing difficult times. It needs a certain transformation, and with equality another thing comes along, and that is how to build high-performing teams that can manage that transition. And for that, we have two experts with us. We have Isabel and Tiziana. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for the invitation.
Hello from my side as well.
So, before jumping into the subject, we know you, but the audience might not know you. So, could you please give a short introduction of yourselves?
My name, as you said, is Tiziana Tronci, and I am the CEO of G-Fund. G-Fund is a family company founded by my father in 1994, and we are active in the die-casting industry by selling equipment and technology for light alloy foundries, mostly for the automotive sector. And I am also CEO of a company, startup, which has been founded in 2020 under the name High Performance Die Casting, because this is a little bit our objective, where we produce thermoregulatory units for dies. And last but not least, we also develop software called Perpetuo for predictive maintenance. This is my little baby. and basically this is because our goal, our vision is to bring innovation into the foundry through two main pillars, which are digitalization and sustainability.
For an old traditional industry to new topics of great importance, I would say. And then, Isabel, your background and how you got here.
So, hi everyone, my name is Isabel Jaschek. Since mid-2024, I have the chance to work with Handmann. It's also family-owned company since 150 years, so there's a lot of history there as well. I am responsible for global market strategy and marketing communication for two business units, the die casting business unit, so where we do everything around light metal solutions, and also systems engineering, where we, for example, dive deeper into battery technology. So this is my role at Handmann.
So in the same podcast, we have experts in digitalization, battery technology development and systemization, and sustainability.
Exactly.
I would say it's a great width of the content today. So ladies and gentlemen, hang on, because this is going to go fast and be a little bit of rock and roll.
We can talk about light metal casting, but we can also talk about a lot of other things today.
Yeah, but don't you think that everything merged together now? I mean, today's components and today's industry, you cannot just wait for a drawing and then do pretty much the same you did 20 years ago and then have a decent financial situation after the year end, and then you do yet another year. I mean, we see the EVs, right?
Absolutely. So actually also this is why Handmann was investing 20 years ago in systems technology, because customers wanted more. They didn't only want to have the casted part that is of course also finished, but they also wanted it to be assembled. This is why we were investing into this. And nowadays we invest much more into engineering, prototyping in a very early stage to really start from beginning until the final system is assembled, right? This is what makes the difference somehow, but this is also what creates a lot of complexity to have the knowledge from A to Z, right?
But at the end, it creates the value that you bring, because we all know it, just selling the casting, you cannot live with that in a high salary country that we all have in Europe. So you need to have the service aspect as well, seeing, okay, how can you surround that casting with additional things that bring value to the customer? And then also, when you said we're starting right at the beginning, you can tailor that it fits perfectly into your production line.
If I may add one thing on what just Fabian said, is really, beside the new products, we are trying to manage a new business model, like selling more service. We are working into the servitization process, basically. So not to sell the product itself, but to sell a solution, which is a product plus other services. So I totally agree with this vision.
So the conclusion is from you, the conclusion is from us, the conclusion is from the Eurogas organization that to become a selling organization of more complex solutions with a greater value content, that sounded McKinsey, you have to bring in more knowledge, more know-how, more different experience into the foundry industry, in short.
Yes, this is the real value at the end.
Yeah.
the know-how. It costs a lot of efforts, to develop this know-how. So
That we know. Yeah. You don't just buy a book. So, to set the stage a little bit, this podcast is like a reflection of a conference at the Eurogas that was called Women in Die Casting, right?
Correct.
And if to become that successful foundry group with that service and that value add, and also providing, I would say, strategic design support to your customers, you need a lot of competencies, and you cannot limit yourself to guys 50 year plus with 30 years of experience in a small family foundry, right? So that's why we're here. We're here to discuss that equality thinking that will give you the teams that will be highly effective in all this. That is my understanding.
Absolutely. And I think that's the perfect time to share also your background story, how you got into that industry and how you get now in that position to really make that transition in the industry.
My story is quite, I would say, particular. Because I joined the family company in 2016 after 15 years working in other fields, doing completely different job. I was working communication in other fields like fashion, jewelry, textile, so another world. And at a certain point, when I was adult enough, that I realized that I need something more concrete. And I thought, what there is more concrete that working into a production industry, So I want to see something to be created, like when I go to foundries and I see all the process from the ingots to the final part, the final components. I'm very excited about this, because it's something that I don't know, I would never expected that I would have be so enthusiastic about working in foundries, but this is exactly what happened. And this was very, very strange, and it was very surprising also for my father, honestly, because he saw me satisfied with my previous job and roles. I had some prestigious roles in communication, so probably he still asks himself why I decided, to enter in JFond. And probably the fact that I enter the company when I was middle-aged, let's put in this way, it has been also an advantage because I had some experience that I could transfer into these fields, and also from an internal point of view, talking about the communication between me and my father, the relation between me and my father, the fact that I was not so young, but I could manage the right language, the right talking, when to say something, how to say something internally and also externally with customer, with competitors. This is a knowledge that you can build with experience, with competencies, and doesn't matter the fields where you come from. It's really about growing your experience in your business.
But don't you think that your different background was a strength when I mean, you come back to the question about communication, internal, externally.
I think it was a big advantage. Well, an advantage and a disadvantage, because it's a disadvantage at the beginning. Because at the beginning, when you come from different fields and you have to enter the die casting industry, which is quite traditional, and where you find the people that do the same job since 20, 30 years in the same position, and you are new, not only new in terms of a new phase, but also new from the sector, from the field, So it could be perceived as a problem because you have to demonstrate more, But on the other hand, for sure, it has been more the positive than the negative, because the fact that I come from a different experience allow me to bring some freshness, to bring new ideas in the company, to have open mind and really to change the company, because the world around us is changing and we cannot survive if we keep doing the same things in the same time, in the same way. So that's my point of view on this.
It's well put, and it leads to the next question. How do you get into the casting industry?
Actually, I might have been new to the die casting industry, right? 2 years ago. I had no background in the die casting industry before, but I do have a strong background in the industry in general. So I was working more than a decade in the automotive industry, many years for a major OEM in the commercial vehicle industry. And then another additional some years for a tier 1 in electric propulsion systems. So I do know quite well our customers. And this helps me also a lot in my current job right now, where I'm into market strategy, go-to-market plans, and marketing and communication. So understanding the customers is actually very important for my job. And the good thing is that, at least for me, when I joined Handmann, there are so many people who know the die casting industry, the processes and the technology by heart. So I think this combination is very successful. And also, I think the beauty about being new to something is that it's valid, that you can ask a lot of questions. And people that do their job for a very long time or even decades, they get kind of a routine into it and getting asked sometimes, but why do you do this that way? Have you ever thought about this or that? This opens often really good discussions and can bring things forward. Yeah, this is my background, and I think it fits very well to the company, even though I have not the 20 years experience that most of my colleagues have in that industry.
Interesting. The two of you represent typical examples or ideal example on how to bring in new competence to the industry. So if you look at that question on a broader scale to support our industry, I guess new competences are needed. It's not a happening that you're sitting where you're sitting. What's your take on that, Isabel?
Let's say it that way. The industry, the die casting industry, is changing rapidly because the main customer base, the automotive industry, is also changing, right? Automotive industry went rapidly down since COVID. It's not going to be back on the level before. All the statistics say that it goes step by step downwards, at least in Europe, not on a global scale, but not in Europe. And we have massive structural changes here. So that means companies who have been successful in the past and they had very good methods, they have experts, they know how to do the business from the past. It doesn't necessarily mean that that is the right way to be successful now in this transformation or even in the future. So what we need now is new perspectives, new ideas, fresh impulses on business models, on markets, on customers, on how we could shape this transformation to also be successful now and in the future.
Here, I say.
Yeah, absolutely. Just we have to put way more around our castings that deliver on that. And there's the same thing that we need competence coming out from other areas because other industry think differently, have different requirements. And if you do it same way like in automotive, I just wait for an upload on the portal and then I download and then I send in my offer and then I wait for the purchaser to contact me. That is way too passive for such fast changing time.
I mean, we see what happened with automotive OEMs in Europe, right? The China speed is taking over. They change their business models, they invest, they just do something. It's not always successful, but they do and they try. And this is something, this boldness that I think we should create more. Try things, being bold, invest in something. It's not easy. But by staying where we are today, we're definitely going to lose.
But probably for them, it's more easy because they don't have the history, the industrial history that we have. That sometimes is an advantage, but it's also a weight on our shoulder because we are used to do this. And sometimes the fact that you have a lot of knowledge of something and you are used to do things always in the same way, it is not something that can allow you to think with open mind. It's something that become a barrier at the end of the day.
Yeah. One thing that interests me very much is that I have experience of legacy makers and non-legacy makers when it comes to the car industry. And what strikes me is that non-legacy car makers have more, how should I put it, odd teams, odd personalities in their teams. And speaking about equality, so what is your take on this? So to get a highly efficient team, what is needed?
Diversity for sure. I mean, people that have different competencies, different personalities, different background. It's above all now that we need to rethink about our way of doing business, to have new people on board, on our board. But I also think that is very important, the role of the leader, because it's not enough to have different people seated on the discussion table, but the leader has to really give responsibilities to everyone, to really listen to everyone, to really give freedom, to express new ideas without be afraid that you are perceived not in a nice way because you are bringing something that it's not usual on this table, So it's also the role of the moderator and of the leader is very important.
So the leader to motivate the teams and the people in the team, allowing some slack. Is this something you find at Handman, Isabel?
It's definitely something that we put more and more in our focus, because it's obvious that if we want a fast decision, then we put 5 people at the table that all already have the same opinion, right? So you get quick decisions. But if we want the best decisions, we need as many different perspectives and skills as possible at the same table. So also that means we often have a lot of discussions because our production team has a different view on a strategic decision than our engineering team, than our sales team, of course. And that's in the nature of their role and in the fact that they represent a different role in the company and maybe also have different backgrounds and skills. But in the end, we need to find a compromise that suits everyone, right? So this is also about bringing diverse opinions on a table. We always talk diversity as a gender topic. It for sure is one, because it's also in the die casting industry very obvious. That's clear. But it's also about bringing different ages and experience levels and different backgrounds at the same table to come to a conclusion. And it's not always easy. we do have a lot of discussions as well in my company and in all companies. I think it's the same everywhere, but it's a process we need to go through.
What you said at the beginning, that feels so common when you go around and you have the same team working together for 10, 20 years, that it isn't the meeting needed to find their common opinion. You basically can write it up before you go talk to them, because, yeah, you know these people for 20 years, spent more than 8 hours per day with them. There's no question about that. But when you come new into an industry, and especially as you're in a role also to get into that challenge, to find a way to modernize everything, so you also have to challenge the status quo. What's your experience in that when you come in and say, hey, other industries doing this like that, or we need to move more in that direction? From my experience with the customers, we need to go that way. What's your experience here?
That's a very good question. So I would never ever say, see, I know we need to go into that direction, because that would be just wrong. First of all, you need to listen, right? You need to ask people about their experiences, about the history. What I don't know is the history of why things are done, how they are done, or how things were done in the past. So you need to first understand this perspective, and it's not one person who says like, this is the right direction, let's go there. It's about finding a commitment altogether, and this is difficult, but that's the process how to get there. People were asking me, so Isabel, tell me, what is your strategy? No, I'm not making the strategy. I'm not the one saying it's left or right. I can help with methods, with perspective, with processes to find a common strategy, everyone.
So it's more about giving perspectives and then moderating to come to a joint conclusion.
Yeah, giving a guidance and a moderation, because there's a lot of knowledge in the heads of the people. And what I try to do is also combine it with actual data, right? With facts and figures from the market. You need people who are able to interpret these data. Only having statistics will not lead you the way. But on the other hand, you maybe have gained important insights on why something failed in the past and what you can do better the next time.
I think you're spot on here. It's not for me to judge, but I will also revert back a little bit, because you said, okay, companies has to do like this. But if you look out in the foundry industry, you find, 700 family-owned companies in Italy, just for example, for the sake of the argument, and they are super flat. And what you guys are talking about, I see that the manager's role, if I interpret you correctly now, is more to be the coach, helping teams to reach a compromise that takes in those perspectives, also being fact-based. And I would like to be a little bit aggressive here and say, I would say that the majority of the foundry managers as of today does not have that behavior or leadership culture.
It's
do you agree, or do
I agree.
You agree? Okay.
It's a change process.
I agree, but I've been very lucky because it's not been my case. But you say the magic word, compromise.
Yeah.
Compromise is it's a key word in our life, not just in business, also in our personal lives. We are always to look for compromise, in every part of our life. And yes, you're right. There are many foundries that are small or medium-sized company, and in my opinion, their challenge now is overcome this second generational or third generational depend process, because it becomes really a strategic issue to be able to do this in the right way. And I have some example of company that didn't succeed on this, and it's really a pity. But in my case, my personal story has been very positive, because my father never pushed me to enter in the company. I am only child. At a certain point, my father was turning 70, and so I had this possibility. But again, I was really free to choose. And one day I decided to give a try, because I always thought that then if something could have gone wrong, I would have changed again. I've never been afraid of changing in my life, jobs and other things. So it's my personal and mental attitude, and so when I entered the company, it's been a gradual transition in transferring responsibilities from him to myself, and at the moment I have all the share of the company, and my father is still alive and still coming in the office every day, but we have been able to do this path in a very harmonic way, and in my opinion, you need to have to be brave to do this, because I've been also brave to enter a company, because it's a lot of responsibility, of course. But we also learn one need to do a step back, and we always had open dialogue, because to talk is the starting point. If you don't talk, you keep everything inside, and then it's more difficult to face also emotional issue, because to leave a company to someone else, even if it's your daughter, your son, at the end of the day, it's an emotional issue. We always talk about lawyer and accounting. Okay, you need this professional people in order to let you to do this change, but at the end of the day, what is very difficult is to manage the emotional side, and so this is the real challenge in my opinion. But if you can do the generational transition in the proper way, definitely this can become a driver of change, for sure, no doubt of it.
Do you sometimes have fights or heavy discussions with your father, like because you have very different background? Is there often a dispute also between you two?
Yes, I had, and also I have. But first of all, we have different roles. We manage different things, and this is one strategy for sure. And the second is basically sometimes not to. For me, the most important thing is the personal relationship with my father. Okay, so when there is a discussion, I arrive to a point, but at the end, the first priority is my personal relationship with him. So the business come after it.
But Tiziana, you circle back to a word that I find extremely interesting here. To make change, to dare to put together an effective team, as Isabel is referring to meet the future, to meet the changes. You're spoken about being brave or bold. Is this the second key element in the leadership we need in foundries, to be bold? To dare to challenge things, to dare to employ people that looks like, I don't know, TikTok figures, 25 years old or something. Is this something lacking? Is this something that a manager has to have to be able to manage a foundry meeting the future?
A lot.
A lot, okay.
Yes. The problem is that not always you find so many brave people in a leadership position, because to be brave many times means to take responsibility and also to do things maybe in a different way. And so people are afraid maybe to be judged and not sure about the result.
Yeah. Definitely taking risk is something, especially when you look at large organizations, especially in a German-speaking background. Not making mistakes is the highest priority, and if you're doing the thing that is expected, you don't really make a mistake. If it's now the 27th iteration of a shock tower, you know by heart how it works. But if you do something really bold, really something new, then you can do something great for the whole company, but it's also a bit of your personal side that's on the line, because you have to push for it and also you have to stand for it if it goes the wrong way. Is that something that is holding us back as an industry? But what do you think?
I would say because there are so many family-owned companies that I do see a lot of ownership and I do see a lot of entrepreneurship as well. And that's the difference from a family-owned company to a big corporate, for example, because the owners, the families, they want to invest long-term into the future and they have the real willingness. Often they even stand with their own name for this to invest into the future. What sometimes is maybe something that could be added more is to accept fresh perspectives from outside and having the openness to change the approach or welcome new ideas at the table. But I don't think it lacks of ownership and a willingness to do so. That is something that I see a lot in the die casting industry and especially in family-owned companies. And I also do see a lot of positive examples, and not only speaking about Handmann, obviously, we bring a lot of innovations out now this year and the next years, which is definitely the outcome of very bold decisions and investments, also taking risks. But I do see also this with other companies and also some partners we are working together with, because we all have the same target in the end to give the industry a future. And we still have time for that, but not too much. So it's now the
How
time.
do you mean with the time? The time is running out, I hear you say, in a different way. What do you mean by that?
We're doing some statistics at Handmann, and the utilization, for example, for die casting machines is very, very bad. It's like 50% more or less, and it will remain the same the next 5 years. It depends on the machine classes. It might go up a little bit, or it might go down faster. So there are some shifts, obviously, also like talking about the European market, but the utilization of die cast machines is really, really bad. So for now, most companies still have running projects on their machines. They get revenue and so on. But all of this has an end date. And we are all fighting for new projects. We are all fighting for new orders. And the same amount of companies fighting, but the cake is getting smaller. So the pieces per company are getting smaller. So yeah, that's why we need to rethink the business from the past and identify new ideas for the future. Is it another industry? Is it another business model? Is it making the addressable market bigger through substitution of materials, of processes? There are many ways, also investing into the value chain. There are different ways to create new business potential for your company. And there's not this one solution for everyone. Also, every company has to find their own way here. Yeah. But it's a fact that every company needs to ask themselves this question right now.
For this reason, this is exactly what we are doing. We are diversifying our market. So till 5 years ago, I could sell only to die casting because I had only product for the casting industry, no? But when we started developing our software division, which was quite a big challenge for a company that always sold hardware, machinery, equipment, to do software, it's a completely different world. But we thought that we needed to go in this direction to be able to differentiate our target. And now with this predictive maintenance software, basically we can control and we can anticipate failure of components of machinery. Any kind of machinery, doesn't matter, so not only foundry.
But Tiziana, now I'm super curious. You run an operation totally focused on foundry industry, die casting, which is the most stubborn traditional thing I ever encountered in my life. All right. And then you bring in a bunch of software guys. I mean, did you need to protect them against the environment in the company, or how was that the first day they came?
Let's say that I don't send them to talk with customer. They are in the backstage.
That's not only bold, that's next level what you are doing here.
Yeah. And what did the old guys in the company think when people came with strange haircuts and a laptop under their arm?
No, well, for example, the big boss, the old guy, is my father, you know. But he really allowed me, not with word, but with facts, investing money to develop new strategies, new product, new business model. Doesn't matter if he is very far away from this thinking. It's normal. We have a 30-year generational gap between me and my father. So do not pretend he can understand the predictive maintenance issue, but he understand the vision and he trusts me. And also, of course, not just me, but I brought some numbers and
But Tiziana, I need to provoke you a little bit now. Do you really think this would have happened? Okay, we park the thing that the boss and the owner is your father. You come in here, you see that you need to do something. Someone is giving the idea, okay, preventive maintenance, there's software need on the market, you employ a couple of software guys, you build something, and all of a sudden you find a new market. Do you really think this would happen if your father had recruited a 52-year-old guy with the previous 35 years experience in the foundry industry? Do you really think that would happen? You hear how I ask, I don't think so, but...
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No, for sure. It's, in my life, also in my business, I never put in place strategy about my future. Things happen in my life case by case, for a certain extent also, yes, by meeting the right person at the right time, so I think that for sure behind this there was not a written strategy, that it just worked out well. And of course it's very challenging because most of our customer, they do not even do preventive maintenance. We sell equipment and we do a lot of service as technical assistants. I have more technician than sales guy, okay? So because our core business is technical assistance.
I think you both are playing down one important thing talking about these teams. I think there were probably more know-how behind the decision to go into the software industry from you, Tiziana. And you, Isabel, you referred to having the facts, and you also gave us a great presentation about the facts about the development of our industry. And so here comes my next thing to be a little bit provocative. If you take a guy with 32 years of experience of the die casting industry, what are the chances that he actually would invest 2 weeks of his working time to understand the data set and the big data around our industry before taking a decision? Or would he just say, like, it always works like this and Volkswagen always comes around?
I like that question, Stefan. And I think what you need is a kind of proof of concept, by giving examples. So what I learned right now, that my colleagues, they are all very interested in the statistics and the data and the analysis we do, because we open the discussion. We say, see, I found out that, share your experience with me. Let's bring both together and see where it leads us. So you need to open the dialogue, and you also need to take into consideration the experience others bring to the table. But only telling them or telling someone, see, the data is saying that's the way, not going to work from many perspectives. It's not going to work on a relational way, but also not on a real way to get to an outcome together.
I would like also to bring a third thing to that, because what you both said, I can fully underline, but there's also a third thing, that when you start to have the strategy, you go in that direction. You get more data, you see things clearer because you have more information, you're far ahead in that thing, and then you have to reevaluate anything. Okay, Do we have to adjust our course? Which way to go? And that's something where you also need that iteration process, because we've seen it here. Staffan and I, we were talking about Riocasting, and suddenly 2 years later we said, okay, let's do a podcast. And that's now 3 years ago, basically. And we would have never thought about, for us, that we have a podcast and we do active marketing with that podcast. But yeah, these things developed over time, and then we adjusted what we do, how we do it.
Yeah,
also, please don't listen to our first episode. It's quite terrible in comparison to what we're doing now.
You should.
Now I will, that's for sure.
I am still extremely, sorry for my language, I'm still extremely pissed off that the best episode ever, Do You Have the Right Captains, is having like 100 listenings. And it's about the cultural leadership for change, which you are describing in a much more elegant way. So I'm a little bit sour on that one too. But so what I'm saying is that the leadership thing interests me extremely much. And speaking about leadership, you bring in a couple of software guys, Tiziana. I mean, that's brave. And we have done the same in our company. I can tell you that took some friction.
I always say the most difficult thing is really to break the barrier of mentality, of cultural mentality in Foundry. This is really my real difficulties. This is not about from an economic point of view, from a technical point of view. It's the mindset. That's the real problem.
But how do you change that? Do you fire the leadership and bring a new one? Or what do you do?
The solution, I will become very rich.
Yeah. Please let me sell it in Scandinavia.
I don't have an answer yet. I'm trying to do many things, little by little, step by step, talking about change, attitude, talking about numbers, about result. I don't know. I think it's just a matter of time. And the new generation coming up on board.
Yeah, but now I need to provoke you a little bit, Tiziana. We have Isabel. She has in her team forgotten more about the data of our industry than I know. And you say it's a culture thing, and I salute that. I strongly believe that. I can tattoo it on my arm. But is the majority of the small foundries doomed because they don't have the time and they don't have the skill set to take this step, and they are so interlinked with family relationship and stuff, and they're doing the same thing from the 70s? Are they doomed?
And that's why, Staffan, it's definitely a leadership topic, to invest in diversity, to invest in strategy, and to invest in the future. It's definitely a management and a leadership task here.
And the investment here is not a machine. It is a person or two, right?
Yeah.
And then you bring
invest in the people, in the know-how of the people.
But okay, now I really need to drill in this, even if I do believe what you're saying. But you have an own company. You have been running this. It has been feeding a couple of families for 50 years. Now you meet the future. You need to do something. You listen to Isabel and Tiziana on this pod and say, hey, I'm going to get this tiger team, 3 people. Someone in software to understand, someone in analytics, someone in business development. Fair and square. You employ them, and they walk into this building where people have had their jobs since they were done the military service in the 80s. Do you need to mentor them? Or how should you do? Should you really tap them on the head? They are 25 years old. They have a master's degrees from a university. They have strange haircuts, strange hair color and stuff. Do you need to take care of them like small kids? Or how do you do the role model thing? Where do we start when they enter the building?
I love that question. I don't think you have to take care of everyone like small kids, because they're all adults. But for sure, you need to moderate the process. So like just dropping a bomb somewhere will just lead to an explosion, but maybe not lead to the right example, but just leave distraction. And this is not what you want. So it's definitely needed to moderate this and to also invest in change management and change process. And this takes time. And I'm totally with Tiziana. It takes a lot of time. You cannot change structures that exist for decades or even longer within a year or two. But you can step by step like lead a transformation and a change. That's possible. And this is something also where you need to adjust your expectation to the reality where you are. You cannot expect the dynamics or the speed of a startup company to the possibility of a decades old company with very grown structures. And it's just not comparable. But it doesn't mean that there's no change possible. There definitely is. It needs more time, it needs more care, it needs more moderation, and that is something that needs to come from the top.
So now we had the third or fourth keyword on the table, change management. Is change management possible without mixed teams? I'm asking.
Well, we are in the process right now of change management, and for us, for JFON, is definitely easier than for a company like Handman, just because of the size, of course, because to put in place a change management process in a small company, of course, it's easier than in a bigger one, just because there are less. I think so. And there are less people involved.
That's true, but you also have a strong owner somewhere.
Less people, more connections that are on the unofficial route during the coffee break to go around certain restrictions.
You start a revolution quicker in a small company.
Know everybody.
But so I pretend it's easier just because. Let's put in this way.
Point to you, Tiziana. Point to you.
Always on the optimistic side of life.
Let's see the glass half full.
Yeah. If it's grappa,
that's an executive decision.
But for sure, role models and mentor are fundamental, both in a small company or in a big company. In a small company like mine, the role model again has been my father. I'm sorry, I keep talking about him, but this is the truth.
And I must meet him.
And really, because he teach me what leadership really means, which is about giving space, give really voice in decision, and without to be afraid to lose control. And this is really create the condition to people to grow, to diversity, to grow, and also to be more happy and satisfied about what you're doing, because one thing is to do something because someone else told you, and one thing is to be able to really put yourself in what you're doing, and it doesn't matter if you make a mistake. It happens. Everybody makes mistake, but you don't have to be afraid about making mistake, because it's better to do something and then to adjust then just stay still, don't do nothing, wait for something to change things for you,
But don't you have to be careful if you have an odd guy coming in, he or she, and has a total different education background, but has something that you're deeply interested in? It could be like social media marketing or something odd that's never been seen. And if you cuddle them too much, don't you think the rest of the organization will look at them like the CEO's new pet? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. But of course, you don't have to change everything at once. It's a step-by-step approach. You have also to allow the other people to give them time to adjust, to the new vision and to the change. But here I think it's not a matter if to do it or not to do it. We have to do it. Of course, we have to find the right balance. This for sure. And but it's not impossible.
Don't you need to be a little bit tough from time to time to really tell people to shut the F up and sit down and listen to us so you can finish? Or
yes, you have sometimes, but I'm not good in doing this.
I'm sitting down.
Yeah, I think
it's something that I don't like to do, honestly.
Yeah, but I think for many of these things, when you come together and how to structure that, the key thing for me is also to get into exchange with other companies, with other leaders, to see what are their experiences, what worked for them. When maybe you don't have to do all the experience yourself. You can talk to people, say, hey, that didn't work, but for us, that and that position worked really well. does the Eurogos executive circle help you, and how does it play into that?
Every exchange is pre-chose, the executive circle, but as you said, also just seeing how other are solving some criticalities, that's why also I have a very always open discussion also with competitors, because from competitors you can learn a lot, and you can understand how they are facing some problem and which are the solution they can put in place. And the executive circle, yes, for sure, it's a tool. Okay, a strategic tool, also in terms of networking, for sure. But the goal is exactly to help the casting to create a network that can start really thinking and doing action in different ways. And also there are people from different company, different size, different role, and again this diversity is definitely enriching, in my opinion, the group.
How do you see the Isabel circle, Isabel?
How do I see the executive circle?
Yep. Is it a great platform for working equality to turn the industry of die casting, or is it something else?
No, like from my personal experiences, last year I joined the executive circle the first time, and I was in the industry since 1 year. So besides the onboarding I have in my company, obviously, the executive circle helped me a lot to understand on a broader scale what's going on in the industry, because you have like the perspective from your own company, but also understanding the challenges and the risks and thoughts from your suppliers, from your partners, from everyone else in the value chain was very important for me to get a broader picture about where the industry is standing at the moment. But at the same time, I also experienced the strong willingness of everyone in this round to get something changed, to get forward, to shape this transformation. So this positive spirit was very obvious, and I could really feel this. And this was like very interesting for me. At the same time, you talk about a really critical situation, but you do it in a positive way with the willingness to do something and to not get to stay stuck there, but to move forward.
So equality to get the competence in is seen as a tool in the transformation of the die casting industry?
I think not everywhere, not yet. But I think with some positive examples, the others will understand that this is definitely something that can help. I also had an interesting discussion at the last executive circle. I don't remember what the topic was about, but I felt a very negative atmosphere in the room, and somehow I couldn't understand it. And I was standing up and I was saying something like, hey, you have to see it from that perspective, and it's very positive, and so on and so forth. And someone was looking at me like, yeah, of course you are still positive. You're new to the industry. Wait until you are here 10 or 20 years. I was like,
so maybe it's time to change job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for everybody who's not from the foundry industry listening, the foundry industry is not a prison. You can.
Yeah, you were not fun.
Yeah, but I would say the moment I lose my motivation and my optimism to change something, I need to change.
Mm-hmm. But then it was this first conference, Women in Die Casting, at the Eurogas now in January, right? And this was initiated by Christopher Boss and you guys, and you have Professor Paula and some other people, and you ran the first conference. How was that?
Actually, it was much better than expected.
It was great.
Yeah, it was. There were almost 50 people attending our event, so I was quite surprised. And there were even quite some men, like 20%, let's say, were men. And we definitely wanted it to be a mixed
It's our
group.
major target, men. because
they have more to learn. Yes. Yep. There we go.
No, we don't want to talk about it from a minority perspective.
Diversity.
We really want to put it on the agenda for every manager and for every leader. So this is why we want a mixed panel, and we wanted to invite everyone to this session. And there were many more people coming than expected. We were quite afraid, or at least unsure, if this is accepted. But it was really much more successful than expected. And even afterwards, right, Tiziana, you said you were addressed by a lot of people afterwards.
It was very interesting because the panel was in the morning of the first day of Eurogus. And so in the afternoon and also the following days, I had different entrepreneur woman, mostly Italian, of course, because they know Jefon, my company, CEO of foundries or CEO of machine manufacturer, that came to my booth and said, I heard that yesterday you did this and that. I'm very interested. Please keep me in the loop. If you're organizing something, I want to stay in touch. I want to be informed. So there was a lot of attention behind this panel. And so I think that for sure we cannot ignore this request. So we have to move forward. We have to expand this network, and I think that also this podcast could be, from a communication point of view, a support to spread the voice and start doing something maybe more structured.
Absolutely, we are trying to do that. But you mentioned that there are also next step plan. Please share them also with us.
No. I don't have. I mean, I don't know if Isabel has some surprise also for me.
I mean, I usually don't lack of ideas as you, Tiziana. So we do brainstorm a lot about ideas, but actually we don't have a next step planned yet. We both do this like in our free time somehow, and we just had a first kickoff in January, which was overwhelmingly successful. And now we have to go deeper. We have a little group chat with a lot of people in there, mostly women, but not only. So we exchange there on ideas and what to do next. Also, if this podcast, if someone is hearing about this initiative right now and you have an idea about what we could do, what could be helpful for your companies, I think reach out to us, reach out to Tiziana, reach out to me, or even Dr. Annalisa Pola, who is also part of this initiative.
She's a professor of University of Brescia.
I know. I sang for her 2 years ago.
Okay.
A serenade. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Great Italian dinner, and me and Professor Jarfors sang a thank you song for Annalisa.
Nice.
I wasn't totally sober, but they didn't throw me out at least.
Interesting.
I would like to summarize a thing, having two experts here. A lot of good things have been said, and Tiziana, you say that it starts in our heads, in the leadership culture, to be brave, to take the decision, to employ people with different backgrounds that you have today, to form efficient teams that are acting not without data for a transformation of the company. That's the recipe. Okay?
Yes.
And being bold. And trust.
Trust. Okay, so the key issues, trust and boldness, yeah.
And also took away that also have to give freedom to let these ideas develop.
There's a very famous sentence from Steve Jobs, maybe you know it. He once said, I'm not going to hire smart people and tell them what to do. I hire smart people and they tell me what to do.
Yes.
Good word. Yeah. What a great ending, Isabel.
Not planned, but here we go.
Here you go.
No, I think that is a great summary of what we discussed. And so for the founder industry, go out there, hire smart people that tell you what to do, give them a structure, how to implement that. And I think the next executive circle in the 1st or 2nd of July in Paris is the perfect way to continue that discussion. Sign up on the Eurogus site. And then we can say thank you for being here on the podcast, for sharing all these insights and giving basically a blueprint on transformation or change management for the foundry industry.
For free. You're welcome.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Fabian, for your time and for welcoming us in your podcast.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.